All right, we're back on the Thursday night tailgate show. For those of you that are new to the show, we do this every week. Our Twitter handle is Coal Region F-Ball, and we're on Facebook at Coal Region Football. And we start the show by talking about we're missing one of our key guys here, Patrick Crampsey, who him and his lovely wife Amber had their second child this week, so he's understandably not here with us. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention there was also another big childbirth on the same exact day. Coach Davis's brother, Michael Davis, who's a big fan of our show here. In fact, he helped us get through some technical difficulties that first week and get us uploaded. Him and his lovely wife, Erin, had twins, a boy and a girl, on the same day as Coach Crampsey on Monday. So I guess we're expecting a big bash every year for this birthday party.
Absolutely.
But, congratulations to all involved. We always talk about the excitement of football, but man, whenever you're a little bit older, the excitement, nothing gets better than having babies, and that's just some great stuff. We're excited to see this family growing here. So Uncle Davis, Uncle Devo,
there you go,
Uncle Kid Genius, Lehighton at Pleasant Valley, Week 4.
This is one of those games where something has to give. Pleasant Valley with Jimmy Terwilliger. I mean, he set all those records in college. Pleasant Valley's 2-1, 95 points in 3 games. Lehighton's 2-1. I think the game's in Lehighton.
I believe so, yep.
Lehighton only gave up 34 points in 3 games, so something's got to give.
Absolutely. And who would have thought it? But, this has huge MVC implications, for the league.
Right.
Lehighton lost a real tight one to Stroudsburg, but Stroudsburg's 3-0. They lost the thing, but there's East Stroudsburg South looming out there. We're not experts on the MVC, but the MVC might evolve into something where we think the AFL can evolve into a 1-loss or a 2-loss team winning the league. So this one has huge implications for the league.
Absolutely, yeah. This is definitely an interesting game. We'll definitely be picking up the paper and, tuning in to WNEP and TV 13 Friday night, checking out all the highlights.
Absolutely. Blue Mountain and Wyomissing. Wyomissing, we talk about them as much as anybody else on this show here because they've either played teams, that like Schuylkill Haven or, we mentioned them as returning state champions, but they're playing Blue Mountain this week. You came up with a pretty interesting stat there. Wyomissing's teams that they played this year are combined 8-1. And, the returning state champions, so Blue Mountain got their hands full.
Absolutely. Like you said, the teams that Wyomissing has played 8-1. The only loss of those teams is Haven, who Wyomissing beat. So they gave that team a loss.
Yep.
So it's going to be an interesting game.
Tap Blue Mountain, an Eagle's Nest.
Absolutely, and that's tough. You play normally on Saturday afternoon, then you come play Friday night up in Blue Mountain.
Yep.
Bornstein's going to get his yards. Haven moved the ball up and down the field on him week 1. I would expect Blue Mountain to score some points, and I would expect an extremely close game here.
Yeah, this will give us an idea where Blue Mountain's at, And speaking of Saturday afternoon games, I'm old enough, I don't know if you are, I'm old enough to remember playing at Blue Mountain on Saturday afternoons back in the day when they did. So any Blue Mountain followers out there, you might remember that too. Shenandoah and Minersville, I'll tell you what. Both of these teams, both of these kids on the teams here, they got to be excited about this week because both of them have gone through a gauntlet. And, they got to have a feeling. You never say as a coach that, we're the underdogs this week. We're not going to have a chance to win. But both of them played some of the better teams around. And now they got to be thinking, this is our first W, on both sides.
Yeah, you look at Minersville the first 3 weeks, and they gave up 40 or more each week.
Yep.
And I don't care who you're playing, you're not going to win many games. That's like Jim Thorpe last year.
Mm-hmm.
They would lose 49-48.
Yep.
They would lose whatever. But they've only scored a total of 19, and they saw some very good defenses. So I'm curious to see now, going up a team that a single-A school who, they match up with a lot better, how this game plays out. Because Shenandoah, in the same hand, they played North Schuylkill, University Prep, and Tamaqua.
Yeah.
3 very good teams.
Yep.
Like Minersville.
And all bigger enrollment-wise.
They scored some more points than Minersville has, but they've given up some points as well.
Yep.
So it should be a very interesting game.
Yeah, and these are, 2 of my favorite teams. You mentioned single A. When I used to coach in the Colonial League, I said, there's no real comparison in the Colonial League to the AFL small town schools. You know, and they both have great places to play in, tough kids who are town proud, and you know, I just enjoy watching these teams play, and I'm hoping for a close game, you know, where the team that makes the bigger plays comes out on top.
Right. Games at Minersville, you'll have some old ladies sitting on their porches watching the game. You know, you can't beat that. You know, you have these towns or these stadiums that are sitting in the middle of town.
Absolutely.
There's nothing better than that.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, I mentioned earlier, my favorite stadium around, and maybe I'm biased, I'm a hometown guy, but in the middle of town in Lanchford, we're at Panther Valley, comes the very surprising Jim Thorpe, 2-1, scoring points are crazy, but limiting teams. They're coming to Panther Valley this week, but Panther Valley fresh off of a little momentum here with a big win over Kutztown.
Absolutely. You know, Jim Thorpe has got all the momentum in the world right now. Everyone's talking such high praise for them, and you look at the schedule coming up, and they play Panther Valley, Shenandoah, Minersville, and you're looking at it and you're like, all right, they're 2-1.
Yep.
You know, with the way this early season played out, you know, they can go on a little run here, but in this league you can't look past anyone.
Yep.
You know, you got Ferryman, you got Nace, you got Schubeck, you got William. Like Panther Valley, they have some playmakers. You don't want to sleep on them. You know, when you're playing Shenandoah, you got Mascornik, you got McCall. Like, can't look past anyone. We can look past them here on the show.
Yep.
You know, I'm looking ahead already to week 7.
Yep.
If you would have told me at the beginning of the year I was looking forward to Jim Thorpe playing Mahanoy area week 7, you would have thought I was nuts.
Absolutely. And hey, we know about looking past him. I looked past Jim Thorpe first week of the year. So Jim Thorpe can't look past Panther Valley. Those 4 guys you mentioned for PV, Ferryman, Nace, Williams, and Schubeck, they're as good as any 4 in the league. You know, they have some depth issues, but, you know, on any given night, they can make plays, and that's what'll make it interesting. So, you know, we're looking forward to that one. And that leads us to... you know, we're talking about if you would have thought at this time of the year type of thing, Marion 0-3, going against a team we don't know much about, Conwell Egan out of the Philadelphia area, their Catholic school out of the Philly area. They're 1-1 right now. And Marion, I mean, they can't afford a loss. They're going to go at 0-4 if they lose.
Right. The nice thing is it's a Philly school coming to Marion. So that's a long trip. Like you said, they're 1-1. They lost to Lansdale Catholic, who is usually a very strong crew.
Yes.
And then they beat Valley Forge Military, and they put up some good points. So
49-7, I think.
I'm sure they're going to have
55-8.
I'm sure they're going to have some athletes.
Yeah.
Marion, you know, secondary-wise, I would think that they're going to try to spread. I have no idea what they're about, but I would expect Marion secondary to be running all night, trying to cover some kids that are very athletic.
This will be kind of like our university prep game against Shenandoah. We'll probably know more next week.
Absolutely.
After we get to see them play. Something new to the show here. Every week we have a game of the week, and we picked this one out 4 weeks ago. We were excited about it for our game of the week, but we didn't realize. Actually, we probably figured that maybe coming into this game, Mahanoy area and Tamaqua, one team would be 3-0 and one team would be 2-1. So this is our honorable mention game of the week, but we probably wouldn't have predicted that the 3-0 team would be Mahanoy area and the 2-1 team Tamaqua. But this is a huge one. This is making us reevaluate our travel plans this week.
Absolutely. I mean, I had penciled in North Schuylkill and Haven week 4. We talked about it the last couple of weeks. There's a game that's a little bit closer now that, you know, is just going to be just as good. You know, it's going to be an awesome game. Mahanoy's offense has been awesome. Their defense really is tightening it up. And then Tamaqua, they're doing the same thing. They're getting healthy. Vander Martin, hopefully he's able to play. But, I mean, the big plays that Tamaqua's been scoring on has been awesome.
Absolutely. And let's face it, you know, Coach Holman, we talked about the chip on his shoulder, the disgust a little bit with people doubting them. This is your test.
Absolutely.
I mean, you show up in week 4 and you do well here. There's nobody doubting you. You know, you beat Marion, you beat Panther Valley, you beat Nativity. But I'll tell you what, this is the one. And if they get this one, we got to start talking about them as the league favorites, or at least in the mix for the league.
Yeah, I mean, if Jim Thorpe keeps winning, because Jim Thorpe got 2 tough ones out of the way, and Mahanoy gets this one, that week 7 is going to be a huge game.
Absolutely.
And I mean, when was the last time I mean, Jim Thorpe, when was the last time them and Mahanoy
Yep.
played in a big game against each other?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's awesome.
And on a side note, we got Coach Holman locked up for that week, right?
Absolutely.
He's going to be on the show that week. So
Yeah,
we're kind of hoping for a big showdown now.
Yeah, week 7, we're going to be heading up to Mahanoy and interviewing some kids, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely. And speaking of a good time, that's our game of the week here. North Schuylkill and Schuylkill Haven. We're gonna talk to some of the Schuylkill Haven kids tonight, and this is one everybody had to have asterisks. Beginning of the year. I talked to a friend of mine, Sean Quirk. We might even meet up this week. We're gonna go tailgate a little bit and hang out, just like the Thursday night tailgate show, because there's gonna be a buzz in the air about this game, and both communities got to be excited about this.
Yeah, and every year you look at the league, and I think there's been 3 years that the league has been a shared title.
Yep.
This year is very well could be that. It could be a
Possibly.
5-way tie. Who knows? But just because North Schuylkill has one loss, that doesn't mean anything.
Nah.
If they take care of business now, they're going to have at least a share, if not the
Yep.
title. You got Schuylkill Haven last year. North Schuylkill for years was just dominating.
Yep.
They were the big kid at recess playing dodgeball. They just dominated you. And
Great metaphor.
yeah,
Great metaphor.
thank
I
you.
love that.
But Schuylkill Haven last year, they took it to them.
Yep.
And then North Schuylkill ended up losing 2 or 3 games in the league.
Yeah, the Mike Tyson thing, until Buster Douglas, knocked him out. They all thought he was unbeatable.
Right.
And they took it to North Schuylkill, and now they've lost 3 or 4 games since then.
And I wouldn't be surprised and I'm sure the North Schuylkill coaches were really frustrated with that. I wouldn't be surprised if North Schuylkill was looking ahead to this game.
Yeah.
You you played Jim Thorpe, and you're like, they beat Tamaqua, they were banged up, and they lost to Blue Mountain.
Nobody would ever admit it, but it's tough. 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, they look ahead, and we do as coaches. I mean, let's face it, we've done it before too, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond to this.
Absolutely. Preseason number 1 and number 3, 1-1 in the league versus 2-0 in the league.
Yep.
So it should be very interesting. North Schuylkill's got a little bit of payback from last year in their mouth, a little sour taste from last week, getting beat by 20 at Jim Thorpe. They get to go home. I'm sure Fountain Springs is going to be rocking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it should be good. Should be a good time.
Question?
Twitter question, yeah. Do you have the Twitter question? I don't have it in front of me, but it dealt with... they asked our opinions on some of the hoopla surrounding the things like the Johnny Manziel, controversy all summer this summer, and even more recently, some of the things going on.
His actions on the field.
His actions on the field. How he carries himself on and off the field. And we talked about this a little bit before. We're coaches. We're teachers. We try to maybe teach young people how to respond on the field of play without lecturing, but our idea is let the play do the talking. I've seen guys all week, on the highlights, flexing after touchdowns, or I saw the guy from Alabama, the Johnny Manziel thing, and then the throat slash.
Yeah.
And after the game, people aren't going to talk about your touchdown; they're going to talk about that nonsense, and that's got to stop. The old Barry Sanders thing. I think you mentioned it before. When you score a touchdown, he used to say, "I'm going to act in the end zone like I've been there before, and I'm going to be there again." And he handed the ball to the ref.
Absolutely. You don't need to draw attention to yourself. And some people continue to do it. Like Johnny Manziel, he's going to continue to do this. This is what he does, and that's the kind of person he is. And like you said, when you coach, we coach the kids to be respectful kids. Whistle to whistle, you got to turn into an animal.
Yep.
But when that whistle blows, you got to be respectful. Get back in the huddle. If you have to talk to an official, make sure it's a captain talking or the head coach. I know sometimes the assistant coaches get out of hand. It's the same thing with them. Be respectful. I know everyone gets caught up in the heat of the moment, but the Johnny Manziel stuff, it's ridiculous. It really is.
Yeah, I'm not for that at all. You guys, young guys that are watching, you're going to see someday people are going to remember you. They're not going to remember you for maybe the exact plays that you did, but they're going to remember you for how you carried yourself. And if you draw attention to yourself, they're going to think of you that way. A selfish person who wants the camera on him or wants to focus on him. If you behave, professionally or with class, they're going to remember you that way, and it's going to go a long way.
Right. And I'm not saying I don't like watching Johnny Manziel. He's a phenomenal player.
Yep.
But sooner or later, one of these teams is going to tee off on him after a whistle and say, you know what, we'll take the 15-yarder. You got to knock off this garbage because you're just basically being disrespectful to the game.
Absolutely. And speaking of, Johnny Manziel, they call him Johnny Football. Now, the other day he threw an interception. Did you see the attempted tackle that he made?
It was terrible.
It's terrible. I think they should call him like Johnny Offense or Johnny Heisman. But Johnny Football, he's not a football player, a guy that tackles like that.
Right, you see some quarterbacks, they throw an interception and they make some very nice tackles.
You see kickers, and punters do that.
He did everything wrong. His head down. If he would have hit the guy, he would have probably broke his neck because he hit him with the crown.
Yeah, he didn't get up and do this afterwards.
No.
So. But hey, you guys, young guys watching this, do the right thing. Do the right thing, and you're a team player. Be that way. None of that individual nonsense. All right, next up we got some Schuylkill Haven guys we're going to talk to.
Right, so make sure tune in. We're going to be throwing that section on the back of this end.
Yep.
And like I said, if you got a coach that's interested in us coming up, we'll be more than happy to come up, interview some kids, and throw it on our show. We're here to promote the kids. We've said that week in and week out. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you stick around and watch the Schuylkill Haven interviews.